Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to episode 6 of the Two Films Podcast. Got to make sure I say the right podcast this time. I'm your host, Jake Metzger, a guy who can be searching for truffles at any moment of being a man. And my co-host of the Two Films Podcast, he's also the host of the Theo Bros Podcast, the theological discussion podcast. And that man, he's got those opinions that are just so unreal, so genuine and authentic that it would be a disservice to use the word raw. Ladies and gentlemen, David Reed.
Yo.
David, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good to hear. Well, for any inquiries and what comedy specials you want us to watch, feel free to send them on over to Snarp Fangle Pod@gmail.com, or you can just comment below or text Jake if you're one of those special few that have the number. All right, David. Well, for those uninitiated, the Two Films Podcast is a podcast where we take two films, pair them together to a coherent theme. And the theme this week is comedy specials. So, David, what are our two films that we are bringing forth before the congregation on the internet?
Well, first up, or in whatever order we do them, I'm never privy to such details. We've got Tim Allen's Men Are Pigs, and then Eddie Murphy's Raw.
Both before the 90s. Because as we all know, the 90s didn't start until 1991, right, David?
Is that how we're reckoning things nowadays?
Well, I don't make the rules. There wasn't a year 0, was there? There was only year 1.
Yeah, but there was a year 1990.
That is true. But would that be the 10th year of the 80s or the first year of the 90s?
I don't know.
Like, is 1999 the 10th year of the 90s?
You know, that's
yeah, it makes you think, huh?
It makes you think.
Yeah.
I mean, culturally, the 90s didn't really become the 90s until a little bit later. But oddly enough, some of the groundwork was laid in the 80s as well.
Very much so.
So
we wouldn't have the 90s without the 80s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like certain things that we think of as like a 90s thing actually had their roots in the 80s.
Yeah.
Just like rap rock.
Yeah. DuckTales. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Rap rock
Beastie Boys.
Rap rock is something we definitely associate with the 90s, with new metal, but it existed in the 80s.
Yeah, there's some interesting excerpts and very timely excerpts that I found about the first one on the docket. The first film, David, is Men Are Pigs.
Indeed.
Tim Allen's Men Are Pigs. The first Showtime special of Tim Allen, filmed in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And that's the description. Directed by Ellen Brown, written by Tim Allen, and starring Tim Allen. And there's also a credit to a certain person named Johnson, with the credit, some of Tim's ideas are from so-and-so Johnson. Yeah, with an unknown budget and and a zero box office, this was a TV special with a runtime of 30 minutes, released in the year of our Lord 1990, David. So, what are your overall thoughts and impressions of Tim Allen's Men Are Pigs?
Well, I guess if you were going to do a home improvement stage show, you'd be pretty much that.
Yep, exactly.
I find it so funny that that this one in particular, both, but this one kind of, I think maybe a little bit more overtly, but both of them definitely, you see ideas of stuff that they're known for from the future taking shape in these comedy specials here. So basically this is like Tim Allen's sort of home improvement character, and all of the jokes and the gags all kind of stem from this comedy special.
Yeah, it's funny. I grew up watching Home Improvement. I think you did too, right, David?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so it's like you watch this special, which I think I watched for the first time a couple years ago, and it's free on YouTube. You can just watch it. Various people post it, as well as it's just officially free on YouTube. You can just go there. And it's hilarious, but it's basically the first season of Home Improvement. All the jokes that you hear in this, pretty much every single one, takes some shape or form in the first 26 episodes of that series. And then they are mainstays that continue on with the whole concept through 8 seasons, I believe. So yeah, it was 8 seasons. I should know this. I bought the collection off eBay years ago. And I think I made it to season 7. I never finished the series. But man, Home Improvement's great. And so is this special. I was really taken aback, and it was somewhat nostalgic, even though I've never seen it before. Mostly because, well, probably because of the material.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to say that this was my first time viewing it, and I would definitely have to agree that it had sort of a nostalgic feel to it, even though I'd never watched it. It was just like I was so aware of Tim Allen's comedy style that though I'd never seen this, it was instantly familiar to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how as he starts out, now he's got a huge corkboard kind of set look behind him. There's giant walls that are supposed to be corkboards with very 90s kind of / 80s like font and look and coloring. And it just felt like kind of like a sitcom almost, pray tell. But I was doing some reading, and apparently he started out by advertising tools like on Sears and I think Craftsman as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he started doing tool commercials is how he got his start. And I think he was at an ad agency. He eventually did commercials after that because of that experience. And then he also was at stand-up by night. So he's at ad agencies for his day job, and then he would do comedy at night. And so then he eventually got onto commercials and got himself out there. And then eventually, I guess, Showtime picked this up, which is really cool. Something I also learned while doing some research for this was, I think I have it written down here, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and let's see, this is from a biography.com article, and it says this: by 1990, Allen's Men Are Pigs routine, which focused on, the male love for hardware, was made into a Showtime television special. The segment caught the attention of Disney Studios chairman at the time, Jeffrey Katzenberger, and Walt Disney CEO Michael Eisner, who offered Allen leading roles in upcoming small screen adaptations of Turner and Hooch from '89 and the Tom Hanks role in The Dead Poet Society. And it's so interesting because, let me finish it. Allen turned down the roles and tenaciously fought for his own material. So they were kind of like, hey, we want adaptations of these films on television. Would you be willing to do it? And they said, no. I think it's cool because he believed in himself enough and knew what his value was that he eventually just got up a straight up just show based on it, like original show, which was really cool. And it says here, it continues on, eventually persuade the studio to turn his routine into the basis of a new sitcom, Home Improvement, where he plays the person, Tim Taylor, with the show Tool Time.
Yeah.
So first off, such a great show, but you truly see the origin of it in this special. Like for the way he acts, the grunting, of course, all the subject material, especially on like, why do you fix stuff? Like he's imitating his wife. It's kind of hard to talk about comedy specials in this 2 films format podcast, David, because it's basic, like you were mentioning earlier off air, like, well, yeah, they said this joke, and then they said something really funny here, and then this joke happened, and it was, guess what? There was another joke.
Yeah.
So I don't know, where do we want to take it from here? Like, what was some of the material, I guess, that stood out to you?
One thing that kind of stood out to me overall was like there was this kind of a much more like sort of emphasis on like man versus woman, the whole battle of the sexes thing in this. And it just kind of was interesting to me because it's one of those things that it's kind of like you're not really allowed to talk about. Not that you're not allowed, but people seem to have like a very negative reaction to it. You get you get the accusations of, oh, boomer humor. Oh, boomer humor. You know, it's like, oh, good. It's a boomer making a joke about how much he hates his wife. Ha ha, how funny. And it's like, you know, I think you know, this kind of stuff gets painted with a broad brush, so to speak. So you don't really see a lot of people in modern comedy trying to do something like this. It's just funny how the culture shifted. And so, yeah, watching this is kind of like, you got to like readjust your expectations a little bit if you're coming at it from like a modern cultural standpoint.
Yeah, and what's so funny about this is that even today, it's quite relevant. Like, I mean, it just reminds me of my dad. I always thought Tim Allen kind of looked like my dad anyway. Like, especially when he took his shirt off and he's surprisingly tan in Home Improvement. You're like, what the heck? Wow, this guy who lives in Michigan, by the way. Holy cow. But that was how my dad was. We're in California, and whenever you see him out in the garden, he's always taking his shirt off. When he's fixing something outside, he's got his shirt off. He's trying to work on his tan. And, you know, he's got the same kind of belly and everything, you know. He's just a prime dad, prime boomer, we'll say. But something that kind of stood out to me is kind of the precursor of his personality that we see here compared to other media going forward into the 90s. You kind of see this quiet, this confidence that he has that's very subdued. Now, it's kind of hard to describe it, but with a lot of comedians, you can tell very obviously when they're nervous, depending on who it is, especially if it's like a very fresh person who hasn't done a whole lot of stand-up, or if it's a person who's been doing it for 10 years and they're still trying to find their game. And with Tim Allen, it seems like he's found a really not just unique perspective, but a way to handle and describe stories, which I really appreciate, especially in this. Like, you see it told out in live TV right in front of you in Home Improvement. But him describing it, him like narrating and him grunting and saying, oh no.
Yeah.
It works, and it works really well.
Yeah.
And the battle of the sexes element is still incredibly, it's timeless. It's very timeless, in fact.
Yeah. It's timeless, but it's like, it's one of those things like, the culture's tried so hard to get away from like the differences between men and women. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's just funny to watch a comedy special where nobody cares about erasing the differences. In fact, they care about highlighting the differences.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, but yeah, it's relevant. It's always going to be relevant no matter how much society tries to erase it. So I'm definitely not claiming that this comedy has aged poorly. It has not.
Yeah.
It just kind of, it stands out in terms of like the way people look at sex and gender nowadays. It's very binary, very highlighting the differences. Yeah. Whereas it just seems like today it's like, oh, you're just a blank slate. It doesn't matter, man or woman, you're just a blank slate. And it's just, it's refreshing. Yeah. It's refreshing to not have to sift through that modern cultural garbage and just enjoy some good old jokes about husbands and wives annoying each other.
And I think that's really kind of like the core of comedy in general is to everything is up for grabs. But even if you go to like a comedy club in LA, especially LA in California or New York, what have you, you're going to find a lot of people putting up filters regardless, you know, depending on the city you live in and the political ideology reigning supreme at the time, whether it be in 1990 or 2020s. But like you said, it's much more sanitized nowadays. Like there's comedians out there that I've seen, like I think Jimmy Yang and a couple others where I'm like, I mean, some of this is funny, but I don't know. I'm just not really connecting with what you're saying. And as we get into Raw, talking about Eddie Murphy, yeah, I'm not connecting to what he's saying, but the way he's saying it, the way he portrays it, the way, the timing and the flow and the work that he's ironed out to a T with Eddie Murphy is so expertly done that you can't not like it.
Yeah.
You know? And with Tim Allen, I guess for him, you can tell he's also ironing it out really well. I don't think he's obviously as funny as Eddie Murphy, but I feel like I laughed just as much in both of these specials.
Yeah, I would say they were both equally funny for different reasons.
Yeah, different reasons. Yeah.
This one, yeah, he's not at the top of his game here. He's really just starting out.
Mm-hmm.
You can see like his persona hasn't been fully formed yet, because first off, he's much more edgy than he is on any of his later material, like later movies, TV shows, whatever. Secondly, he's very like quippy in this.
Yeah.
And like Home Improvement and later Tim Allen stuff, he's not quippy, you know. So he's like, you know, he fires off little quips and he's like, hey, yeah, oh, okay, yeah, and he like kind of talks with his hands a lot in this.
Literally sometimes.
But yeah, he doesn't like all this stuff is kind of like faded away over time. So it's kind of interesting to see that, kind of see him in this sort of in-between stage where he's like, you can clearly see the direction he's going, but you can also see elements that didn't survive his transition into Home Improvement and his other projects.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because I think Tim Allen kind of was the example that people like Larry the Cable Guy and Jeff Foxworthy, the kind of blue collar comedy guys, tried to like replicate. I just don't think they were, well, they weren't Tim Allen, I guess is how I would put it.
Yeah.
You know, like I think I've seen a little bit of Jeff Foxworthy and a little bit of Larry the Cable Guy stuff. I just can't really not connect with it, but I can't find the funny in it. You know what I mean? Like I can find the funny in Eddie Murphy stuff, even though I can't connect with it, like personally. But it's all about how you tell a story for me and how you handle reactions. Like, for example, Andrew Schultz, I would compare him more to like an Eddie Murphy type of comedian versus like maybe like Tim Allen and a Joe Rogan. They're more closer together than a Tim Allen and Eddie Murphy is what I would kind of compare them to. And Joe Rogan, I've seen his comedy specials. He's not amazing. I think he's a better podcaster, honestly, and a conversationalist than a stand-up comedian. But you can see where he got his quippiness and his like introspectiveness, I guess.
Yeah. I've never watched any Joe Rogan comedy, and I haven't heard good things about it. So
I've got good moments, but that's about it, you know?
Yeah, I feel like you're doing the blue collar comedy tour a little bit of a disservice. No, they're not the funniest people out there, but they had their moments.
They did.
I was just this week. I was thinking about a Jeff Foxworthy joke all week at work, and I was just like giggling to myself over it. There's just I can't remember. Yeah, it was on the Blue Collar Comedy Tour like special. And it was just like, he was talking about being in a house full of girls. You know, he has all daughters and all of his like, I guess he doesn't have any nephews. He only has nieces. So he lives in a house full of women. He was talking about like catching, I can't remember if it was one of his daughters or one of his nieces, just a little girl like trying to spy on him when he's in the bathroom. And he asked her why she's doing that. And she says, I want to see a hoo-hoo.
Oh my gosh.
And then he replies with, I'm going to tell you all you need to know about hoo-hoos. Hoo-hoos are highly poisonous. And then the little girl responds, no, they're not, or the dog would be dead.
Oh my gosh.
So they've got their moments.
Yeah,
they've got their. I spent all week like that would just pop into my head. No, they're not, or the dog would be dead. I just probably look like a crazy man laughing to myself.
Don't worry, I look like that all the time when I listen to different podcasts. Just working and be like, "Ah." So yeah. Well, speaking of hoo-hoos, I love the part where like he's like, women, they're so good at putting that towel on them and they're just tucking it in. I'm gonna have her up on the roof, nailing down the tiles or whatever, the roofing. And then he's like, men put it on, and there it is, right on the ground. There it is, just laying there. Big Jim and the twins just staring at you.
I feel like that's such a true statement, though.
So true, man.
I mean, just like
Women go through a war in that thing, man.
it's just like you see a woman in a towel, and that thing is rock solid.
Rock solid, man.
Like
Oh.
me, I have to keep constant attention to my towel if it's to stay where it needs to go.
It's like, how do you? I remember like as like growing up, being like, how do you put a towel on? How do I figure this out? So, but yeah, there's some great. I think it's also kind of cool. The kind of thought of while watching this, like knowing what happens afterwards, really interesting with Home Improvement, but also with like Toy Story, because they offered him I thought it was funny. So they offered him, but before I get ahead of myself, we're recording this the week after Toy Story 5 premieres here. And there's a little bit of a clip that came out from Tom Hanks, I should say, where Tom Hanks is telling this interviewer guy how in the 90s, Aladdin really changed the game for like celebrity voices. And the main goal he was getting to is Disney and all these other companies kind of realized, holy cow, this guy, he's now there's like, this is a way we can sell children's films. You think back to like Beauty and the Beast. There's no big celebrities in that film. Not really. But then you go to Aladdin, you have the genie, you have Robin Williams. And Tom Hanks was getting to the point of this then became a tradition going forward after that movie specifically, which I believe was 92. And then Toy Story was 95, I believe, or 94. It's one of those. I think it's 95.
95 sounds right.
And I remember growing up and we first watched Toy Story, and my mom would describe it this way. She said, yeah, so Tim Allen and Tom Hanks were really big at the time. They had their successes and people liked them a lot, but Toy Story is where it brought them to mega stardom. Because Tim Allen had Home Improvement. He had other stuff he was doing. Tom Hanks had like, Turner and Hooch and all these other things. But that was what really kind of shot them into the stratosphere. And it was just up and up from then. And I've seen some stuff from Tim Allen's more modern shows, and I find them kind of that same kind of spirit. I don't really seek them out or want to, watch Last Man Standing, but I've seen some clips and some ending of episodes, and there's some endearment to a lot of the stuff he's still a part of. So let's see. What else do I got here? Let's see. Oh, and it's interesting too. Tom Hanks. So they pitched to Tim Allen, hey, a Turner and Hooch TV adaptation, which was a Tom Hanks movie. And they also pitched a Dead Poets Society small screen adaptation, which had Robin Williams in it. And then Tim Allen was eventually in Toy Story with Tom Hanks. And Robin Williams shot this kind of thing off. So that's kind of where I was going. But I think it's cool because his humor is very specific and unique. And I love how it just kind of got milked endlessly. But I really appreciate that it got milked endlessly in the sense of there's a lot of value that came from that perspective. In terms of trivia, like we usually do on these two films episodes, I don't really have a whole lot, but some of this is pretty much what I got. I do have a hilarious thing that I found, David, an LA Times article as a review for Tim Allen's special here. Let's see. I'm just going to read it verbatim. You ready? Susan King writes this in 1990 at the LA Times. Women have been saying say it for centuries, but Tim Allen is the first man to have the courage to admit it. Men are pigs. Grunt, grunt, says the comic. who proclaims in his act that men are primitive, grunty Neanderthal pigs, capable of only of lawn care and vehicle maintenance. His comedy routines are punctuated with grunts and groans and simian noises, sort of like a cheetah he apes. Alan's been on the comedy club circuit for the last 12 years and has appeared on Fox's Comedy Strip Live and various cable specials. He's grunting and snarting on his own Showtime special, aptly titled Tim Allen, Men Are Pigs, premiering Friday at 10 p.m. Women, says Allen, love his act. Women know men are primitive, he oinks. They fear it. This is an actual quote from Tim Allen. They fear it, they deal with it, and they manipulate it. Grunt, grunt, grunt. But Alan is more than a swine. He's a hog with a heart. I love making people laugh, in quotes, he explains. But there's a little bit of guilt in loving what you do when there's so much pain everywhere. This week on stage, I had a tough time because of Iraq, Kuwait, and the millions of other things that are so important. I am a sensitive guy and politically motivated, and at times, comedy seems like a little trite. Success also frightens him. I see changes. I see things changing. I thought I would never see change. Like a certain amount of anonymity, says Alan. It's hard to accept people wanting me. I have slowly built up an audience and can just go in for 2 nights and sometimes 1 night and make the same kind of money as I did in a week. Alan has just finished writing and starring in a commercial for Chevy trucks based on his routine. It's me rewiring the house with Chevy engines, he says. But life is full of compromises. Alan adds with a sigh. It's funny, but it wasn't as funny as I thought it would be. That's the end of the article.
What on earth?
Dude, I was like, why is this archived? Like, it was on biography.com. They didn't delete it. It's still on there.
Oh, Lord.
So I was like, what's the goal of this? Like, what's the point of this? This is all they got out of the interview, which I'm sure was only like 90 seconds. All right. Anyway, I think that's all I got for you in terms of Men Are Pigs, David. But what's kind of your final thoughts and capping it off?
You know, it's just I wouldn't say it's like the greatest comedy special of all time, but it's very funny, and it's cool to see. Like, this is kind of where Tim Allen, like, this is kind of his origin story, basically, because it was, you know, doing comedy, like, mostly, you know, small time stuff, slowly working his way up, and then after this it was like superstardom. So
yeah, it's cool to see the origins here, like we've said, but it's cool because there are certain episodes of Home Improvement that are ripped straight out of this, just certain bits, like the garbage disposal. Like in the episode, he makes the garbage disposal. He's got a diesel engine in there, or a small gas engine or whatever underneath the sink. He cranks it and turns it on, and it just starts. And in the little bit in the kicker of the end of the episode, he takes whatever he can and shoves it down there like a whole cucumber. And then he's like, and he has this wooden spoon and he shoves that down there, which gives him an idea. He leaves the kitchen, and then we see him entering this house with this giant tree branch, and then he like sticks it down the garbage disposal, and then he loses control of it. He backs away, and the people like doing the props or whatever underneath are like rocking it back and forth like it's going out of control. Such a great bit. And that's here in this. And everything you see with Jill, his wife on the show, Trisha Henderson's character, like all that's here. The eye clippers and everything. It's super fun to watch. And, you know, even if it does have some assembly required. Oh, no.
yeah.
I love it so much. It's so good. All right. Well, shout out to Susan King. I don't know if she's still alive. She was apparently at the LA Times from like, I don't know. I think she retired in like 2016 or whatever. But dude, imagine having to like split that out, like spit that out on 1 week and then just keep going.
Yeah.
I love it. Like he comments on the current political climate of the day. Like she obviously asks, "What do you think of the current climate?" Even though that comedy is an escapism thing or whatever. And this is his answer, and this is how she like phrased it.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
very weird. Like I'm sure it's cut. It's taken from a larger interview. It's just really weird the quotes that she decides to highlight in that.
I love it. I didn't get to that. I didn't read that beforehand. The part where he says about Kuwait, so that caught me off guard. But he's like, "I'm thinking about Iraq and Kuwait, man."
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's kind of funny too. It's like, yeah, it's like rewind the clock like 30 years or whatever, and it's like the political thing that people are worried about is war in the Middle East. What are we worried about? War in the Middle East.
Yep.
Some things never change.
Never change. All right, David. Well, that was Men Are Pigs. Here's our next one. And this is a more premium, I guess you could say, special. Released, I believe, for HBO, but it's now on Paramount Plus as of now. And that's Eddie Murphy's Raw. Here's what it's about. Filmed at Madison Square Garden in New York City, Eddie regales his tales and mysticism with family, women, and Bill Cosby. Directed by Robert Townsend, written by Eddie Murphy and Keenan Ivory Wayans, starring Eddie Murphy. No budget, no box office, with a runtime of an hour and 29 minutes. Released in the year of our Lord in 1982, David.
Was it 2?
Yeah.
I thought it was 87.
Oh, wait. Did I not get that right? Let me double check.
I thought it was 87.
Let me double check that. Well, anyway, what are your thoughts on Eddie Murphy's Raw? I think yeah, you're right. It's 87. Yeah, 87. All right, 1987, David. What are our thoughts of Eddie Murphy's Raw?
I mean, dude, Eddie Murphy was at the top of his game.
Dude.
Like he had his comedy down, like just his comedic timing, his the faces he makes.
Oh my gosh.
The way he says things, it's just so done so expertly. Like it's one of those things where it's like, Eddie Murphy was living a completely different lifestyle at this point in time than you or I have ever lived. So it's like we don't really have much common ground. There's not many like timeless themes that we can pull from in the same way with Tim Allen's special, but it's just like he's just so good. He's just so dang funny. Like you can't help but laugh.
Yeah, I remember watching clips of Delirious, I think his first big special, and there's some pretty like it's known for like to be super, raw and raunchy and that kind of thing. And that's what the mindset I had going into that one. But man, there are some real gold nuggets there's kind of gold nuggets everywhere in that special. Especially when you hear like his brother Charlie Murphy yell at a chick to shut up. Like, do you remember, did you ever see that clip?
No.
Well, there's a lady who's heckling him or like freaking out in the crowd.
And this is in Delirious.
Yeah, in Delirious. And he's like in between a bit and he kind of stops and he walks like, yeah, she says it as he's like walking in silence to like another part of the stage, kind of gave himself a little break. And then she's like, you could hear in the background. And then all of a sudden you hear someone yell, "Shut up, bitch." And it was Charlie Murphy. And then Eddie just loses it on stage. It was so funny.
That's funny.
Yeah. But this didn't have something like that. But there were some bits I thought were kind of funny in terms of his reaction to the crowd. Like there was, especially in the Bill Cosby part and in the Italian part at the end, there's a few parts throughout this where like somebody says something to him in the crowd and he's like reacting to it. He's like, "Well, that's what I thought," or something like that. Like his crowd work is like, it's not as pronounced as some other comedians' work, but it's cool to see it here because I've never seen it before. And Raw kind of slowly highlights that. But this special actually has actual story in it, first off. It opens up with a little sketch moment of Eddie as a child making a pee and poop joke. And the only person laughing is his uncle, played by Samuel L. Jackson with sunglasses on.
Yeah.
And I also, one thing I love about this, the two differences I think that these specials like kind of separate themselves, not just the performer, but the subject matter, is Eddie Murphy's talking about the stuff of the day. Like Tim Allen kind of like, all right, sexism, battle of the sexes, we're going there. Men, women, their traits and their complications and, difficulties between each other. Eddie's like the life of a celebrity, the reaction to his fame and his childhood, and really taking advantage of that and making fun of himself within the culture and portraying it in an interesting way, especially the way it ends. It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what stood out most to me in the special was how it ended. Like in some of the greatest specials you'll watch, there's always this big crescending joke in the end. And I feel like the ending of this was, I wasn't like fully on board because I didn't even know it was going to be the end. But then it ends and you're like, oh, that's what it was leading to. And then you think about it and you're like, that was kind of brilliant. So were there any big standouts for you, David, throughout this whole thing? We got like the celebrity stuff in the beginning, the whole thing about sex in the middle, and then like the Italian stuff, and then like his ending with his dad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I was laughing my butt off through the whole thing.
It was so good.
But yeah, the Italian thing is kind of what stood out to me. Just like
this was before Goodfellas, even.
Just like his impersonation of like a stereotypical Italian person. And it's like, it's so funny. And like the way when he shifts between impersonating the Italians and then being himself again or being another person, how his like mannerisms change like in an instant. It's so funny. It's
so like, you can tell like, because I followed some comedians and they talk about like working their jokes. It's one of the only, not profession, even though it is a profession. It's a work of art. It's an art form that can only get better from other people reacting to it. And I thought that was really interesting, kind of like, live stage theater acting. It's the same kind of way in the sense, but this is different because it's all about playing the crowd. And I love like kind of analyzing that art form, but I can already tell like I would not, and I don't enjoy analyzing it. I came to realize this because it's so much work. Like these guys, yeah, it's not just telling jokes. It's the whole nuance of would this work in a crowd. There's that comedian, David. I don't know if you heard of him, but Mitch Hedberg, the guy who does like all the dad jokes, basically.
Yeah.
So he was on Jay Leno back in the 90s. Where he got like a big kind of boost in his career. And I heard him not through that, but through an album that one of my best buds growing up, he was driving me back home from like spending the weekend at his place. And this was before he like moved away. He's gone, like moved away in Idaho now, but he's like, hey, I want you to listen to this. And, he's a big fan of ska and he's kind of a, he likes some little eccentric things, some acquired taste things. And he puts on the album of Mitch Hedberg. And just the deadpan nature of Mitch Hedberg is so brilliant and genius that, like that first album that he released, you got to go on YouTube and find it. I can't remember what it's called. I'll look it up later. But man, is it so funny. And the crowd was like reacting super well to it. And you can tell when the crowd is enjoying versus not enjoying, like when a comedian bombs. Because I listened to one where he's live in San Francisco. Oh my God, he is bombing. And it's really sad that got released and was prompted as like a big special for Mitch Hedberg as a CD or tape or whatever. Because it was very painful because you could tell the audience was not jiving with his humor, which is brilliant. It's just that audience was not on board with it.
Yeah, it's one of those things about comedy is like not certain comedians aren't always for everybody. It's really funny to me is, what's his face? Gosh, dang it. The older dude. Who,
you mean Dave Chappelle?
No, he's an older white guy.
Older white guy.
He's dead now, but he was older when he was in,
like in his prime?
When he was when he got really famous doing his stand-up. He never did jokes per se. It was always more like just ranting.
Are you talking about the guy with Johnny Carson?
No. No. Oh, what is his name? Gosh darn it.
Well, while you look that up, I found the name of the album from Mitch Hedberg, and it's kind of funny name. It's called Strategic Grill Locations. And I was able to, I think I ripped the CD that my buddy let me borrow. And it's hilarious. There's stuff about like CDs, and it's all just dad jokes. And the best thing about this album, I think, is it's brilliantly deadpan and not dirty. Like, I was really worried when he played it because I'm like, what am I listening to? And then sure enough, like, it just kept getting better and better and better. And I think it says here on my little like music phone app I have for my MP3s, 53 minutes. Strategic Grill Locations by Mitch Hedberg. Super good stuff.
That's just an amazing title for
Strategic Grill Locations.
But yeah,
are you talking about George Carlin?
Yes, that's who I was talking about. It's George Carlin.
Yeah, for a second I thought you meant like Rodney Dangerfield or something.
No, completely different.
Okay.
So yeah, George Carlin is a good example of this because it's like, you know, you see his specials and people are just eating it up.
Yeah.
But like, that's not for everybody. You put him in front of the wrong audience, and because comedy is one of those things that's like being in a group like influences it.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can tell like
helps shapes it.
Like I laugh if I'm watching a comedy, whether it be a comedy movie or like a comedy special, like a stand-up special, like I laugh more out loud at jokes when I'm watching with other people than I do if I'm watching it by myself, you know? And it's the same thing. And like hearing the audience like in the recording isn't quite the same, but it does help you connect with the jokes a little bit better. Because like if someone like George Carlin were just like doing his thing and it was crickets, it wouldn't be very funny. But just the way he delivers it and the way the energy of the crowd sort of responds to what he's delivering, it's like it turns something that's not actually even a joke into something that you can get a chuckle out of.
Oh man, what's Childish Gambino's real name? Donald Glover. So I remember watching the very first special I think he did, because he did stand up for a long time. I mean, he was on Community.
Mm.
And I thought that first special was awesome. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny. And I mean, that's a terrible way to describe a comedy special, but I really his kind of style really connected with me, as well as like Dave Chappelle is a great example. And Dave Chappelle's a good example of that, I think, even though like it definitely, Dave Chappelle, the right audience really helps that guy. You go throw that guy in like northern Michigan, that ain't gonna help him out. But throw him in like New York City or Chicago or even southern Detroit, you'll be fine.
I'm pretty sure Dave Chappelle would be just fine as long as his audience isn't full of trans people.
Oh, yeah. So, and that's kind of, Dave Chappelle's real interesting because I watched Killing Them Softly last week after we got done watching these, and it's funny to see his craft there as a young Dave Chappelle. You know, the baby selling weed in the ghetto and all this other stuff. Like his limo driver's like, what? What? He's like, hold on, I'll be back. He parks in the middle of the ghetto. It's so good. But then seeing his like rise again as he's an older fella, and honestly with a better voice. Like I think his more smoke-filled voice throughout after decades of smoking, I think his voice is much more appealing now, just personally, just taste-wise. And then you hear what he talks about, and it really connects with like the anti-woke culture at the time and the move against, what's it called, David? Diversity for diversity's sake, that kind of thing. DEI, you know? And it's cool to see him rise again with Sticks and Stones on Netflix. And then again in 2021 or 2022, the one he did after that, I don't remember it very well. But that first Sticks and Stones special on Netflix was kind of a cultural moment for the people at that time. Like
yeah,
coming through different political stuff in that time and that kind of stuff. So especially with the trans stuff and all that one.
Yeah. That Chappelle is a great example of how important delivery is
Yes.
for in comedy, because like the last special of his that I watched, I can't remember which one that it was, is the one that ends with him meeting Jim Carrey.
Oh, I don't think I remember that one.
It's a more recent one. I just can't remember what it was called or what year it came out. But that one was really, because that one was like after Sticks and Stones, so he was dealing with a lot of the trans backlash against the jokes he was telling in Sticks and Stones, and this one was like not very jokey. It was mostly him just...
Yeah, it was kind of just telling stories, but not in like a super jokey way like he is really good at.
But this one in particular was like even... this one was like, he wasn't even necessarily doing his... He was mostly just like complaining about... He was mostly just complaining about stuff. And it was just very little in the ways of like entertaining stories or jokes or anything like that. It was mostly just like ranting about all the stuff he was going through.
Okay, so I don't know which one it was, but I kind of remember it along the same lines, because Sticks and Stones came out in 2019, and then he did The Closer in 21. And that's the last one I watched, but he also had a couple others after that. Like in 2023, he did a story-focused special, is what it's described as, called The Dreamer. So, but I do remember, I think, watching what you're talking about.
I think the one I'm thinking of is The Closer.
Was The Closer? Okay.
But yeah, it was like but it was funny because even though I wasn't really laughing for most of it, it was entertaining just because of the way he was delivering it. And then he gets to the end where he's describing his experience meeting Jim Carrey and how disappointing it was. And then he just like... And that's how I feel talking to trans people. And then it's just over.
Yeah.
It's just like, I laughed so hard at that line. And it's just like, none of it was jokes. And none of it was even like his normal like storytelling thing that he did on Sticks and Stones. It was just like mostly complaining about stuff he was going through. But just like the way he delivered it, it made it entertaining to watch.
And that's what I loved about the Raw in general, was the delivery of it, because sometimes it's not even a full joke or a full even story, but Eddie is so electric on the screen. It's crazy, David. It's crazy.
Yeah, he has so much energy, and like he knows he knows when to slow down and when to start doing his fast talking thing.
It up. Yeah.
Like he's got this sort of like pulse, this rhythm to it. It's really expertly done.
I didn't really think of it that way. Yeah. Come to think of it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Like highs and lows, and he kind of ebbs and flows.
Yeah. It does this thing where he starts telling a story, and then it gets to a point where one character in the story starts, getting real emotional. And then all of a sudden he's like talking a mile a minute and you can barely understand what he's saying. And then he slows down again. It's really funny.
By the way, have you heard because he does a Bill Cosby impression in this and a Richard Pryor impression. Have you heard his more recent impressions of those guys?
No, I haven't.
There's a funny TikTok or short or reel out there where he has two marionettes, one of Richard Pryor and one of Bill Cosby, and he does like spot on impressions nowadays. But I was surprised, even hearing him back in his younger years, he still kind of nailed those impressions. More Richard Pryor, he really nailed down. His modern Bill Cosby one's great, and the one in here is fine. But this Richard Pryor, right after he was telling this Cosby story, is spot on, dude. It's great. Like comparing Mr. T and Michael Jackson at a party, and with like, yeah, Michael Jackson can't beat you up. Whooping Eddie, imagine Madam MJ whooping Eddie's ass, so good. And the whole Bill Cosby story, when he starts it out, is so like it's so overdone, but it's beautiful that way because it's exactly how Bill Cosby at that time would talk. Oh my God, it was so great. And like the whole Bushwoman thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh man, I don't care if she's got sparks coming out of her ass. She ain't worth $150 million.
Oh, good stuff.
Oh man.
But the bush bitch or whatever thing
Yep.
that reminds me of what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, this one was almost like a primer for Coming to America.
Yes.
In the same way that the other one was a primer for Home Improvement.
Yes.
Because you have the opening sequence, or not the opening sequence, but the scenes of the basically I can't remember the character's name, but the love interest.
Oh, Unfufu.
Is
that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about in Coming to America.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The McDowells or whatever.
Yeah, the McDowells, yeah. The McDonald's, yeah.
Yeah, you see their family interaction, the way it's shot, the setting. It's very, 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 very similar to the opening scene of this special.
Oh.
Very, very similar in tone. And then, of course, you have the whole, some African finding love kind of a thing is basically the central element of the plot. So
yeah, it's on Fufu Eddie, what have you done for me lately? Like it's like, oh man, this is so great.
And that's cool. That's another thing, how he kind of builds on things. Like, he has that whole rant about what have you done for me lately. And then
that could have been the name of this comedy special even.
And then he gets into the Nfufu bit and it's she's going off, and then all of a sudden it's what have you done for me lately? And it's also the same exact accent from like when he was telling the story about the foreigners who don't understand his comedy.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy, you mother effer. F you.
Eddie Murphy. We love you, Murphy. Oh, it's so good. And like the whole thing about like the women staying loyal, like I wrote down what he said, like the guy who's like seducing his woman, like some dude named Dexter St. Jock. Like, oh man. And also, just real quick, I love the bit where he's like, and it's just out of nowhere he says it, and then he leads into like the burger story of his mom, like just out of nowhere he says, I love just going to the supermarket and just watching the moms beat the shit out of their kids. It just out of nowhere, just completely out of pocket. But that's kind of like this whole special was. It was totally out of pocket, and it was awesome. It was such a ride. It kind of lulls a little in the middle. I mean, it is 90 minutes long, so that's a long special in general. But his energy is so, especially in the ending story where he plays his dad, it goes on forever, I think. But he keeps that energy the entire time.
Yeah, that was crazy to me. It was just like, when is this bit gonna end?
Yeah, and then it finally does. You're like, oh, that's the ending of it. Okay.
And it's just so funny too. It's like, it's one of those things like he kind of does like a bait and switch. Like you think he's going to actually tell like a real story about his like parents or something, about him calling his parents. And then it just spirals off into like bizarro land. And by the time it ends, you're like, oh, what just happened here?
Yeah, it was like a whiplash. Like, what the heck? Oh, man. I do have trivia for this. This one actually has some trivia. All right. Now, before we get into it, again, this is IMDb trivia. This is unverified, some of this. And I just don't trust it because who knows? Anybody can go in there and write stuff out. So take it with a grain of salt. But there's some interesting things in here, if it were true. All right. First one's first. Yes. That was, in fact, Samuel L. Jackson playing as Eddie's uncle on the couch in the opening sketch.
Dude, I love that so much. He's like,
ah!
Like when the little girl's singing and he's the rest of the family's clapping, and he's just got this like face on. He's like, he's just enjoying it, and then he's like, everyone's all quiet about the poop joke, and he's just like busts out laughing.
Losing it.
Yeah, I love that doo-doo joke.
I love that doo-doo joke. And it's also great because he's in Coming to America.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So it's like it's funny because you see a little bit of his name's Jules in Pulp Fiction, right?
Yes.
You see a little bit of that when he holds up the McDowell restaurant, just a little bit with the shotgun. All right. But yeah, seeing him, I'm like, that kind of looks like Sam Jackson, because you watch Pulp Fiction recently, and I was like, that looks like Sam Jackson. And then like you look it up, you're like, it is. So it was a nice little surprise. All right, next one. The one time Eddie Murphy uses the word raw in the film is to describe Bill Cosby's disposition when he calls Eddie to chastise him for being too vulgar. Eddie! Just his whole impression is so great. Oh, by the way, I watched the clip of him doing that impression and that story of Bill Cosby and then Richard Pryor, him calling Richard Pryor. I watched that clip right before we came in to record. And the highlight ends on YouTube with a cut to Bill Cosby's mugshot and then news reporter anchors like saying, Bill Cosby was arrested for this and accusations.
Yeah, I mean,
ends the clip like that.
That's one of the things that stuck out to me in watching that bit. I was like, Bill Cosby, all concerned about the morality of comedians on television or whatnot. And it's like, wow, that aged poorly.
Yeah. And then like Eddie ends it with like that Jello pudding even motherfucker. Oh, let's see. The next one. This is already kind of telling what you already said, David, but it says here, some material used by Murphy in this performance found its way into the next film, Coming to America, such as McDonald's, McDowell, and Women in Africa.
Yeah, I feel like too his some of his like Italian impression kind of like paved the way for him doing the whole like white Jewish guy at the barber shop kind of thing and Coming to America. Like that was.
I mean, I always loved Dave Chappelle's white guy voice, but actually listening to Eddie Murphy's white guy voice, I think I prefer Eddie Murphy's almost.
I love the bit. I love the bit where he's impersonating the security guards at a club, and he's just like he's doing this like motion like with his fists, but the voice is like, "You N-words really need to stop this." I just imagine this hulking white security guard manhandling him, and then talking like, "You N-words, you're always starting stuff.
Always starting stuff." Oh, the next one we got here is the filming location was Madison Square Garden, which at the time was actually owned by Gulf Western, which was also owned by distributor Paramount, which of course produced the special and Coming to America. And it's on Paramount Plus today if you want to watch it. Next one. This special surpassed Scarface for the most uses of the F word in a feature-length film with over 223 uses. While it was eventually surpassed by Goodfellas, it still holds the record for movies released in the 80s.
Dang, yeah, this one, this wasn't the first time I had seen it, but I remember when I watched this, it was like a shock to the system. I was like, holy crap. Because
a lot of cursing, man.
It's like, holy crap, I've never seen Eddie Murphy this vulgar. Like, yep. I knew that he had been more vulgar in the past, before he, went full into like Hollywood movies. Like, I knew he was more vulgar, but it shocked me like how much more vulgar he was.
Yeah, I had a conversation similar to what discovery you had with Thad when he found out that Bob Saget was like a really filthy comedian. And he's like, man, Danny Tanner got dirty, man. Like, this is crazy. But yeah, like these were, I think also Bob Saget hosted the first season of America's Funniest Home Videos.
Yeah. Yes,
he did that. So it's like, he's kind of this wholesome fatherly figure on that in Full House. But then you look at his comedy stuff and it's like, whoa. By the way, if you go and look up Bob Saget stuff before he passed away, especially when he was on like Norm Macdonald's show, who's also amazing, those two are hilarious together. They're perfect. All right. The last one I got for you. The film was originally rated X by the MPAA. It was re-edited many times so the MPAA would give it an R rating.
God, I can't imagine what they cut out.
Yeah.
He leaves very little to the imagination. Yeah. Very, very little to the imagination. He pretty much gets into the nitty-gritty of it all.
Yeah. Look, a little Italian white man. Oh, man. And like a disco fight.
I love his Italian impression. It's like, oh, what am I, an asshole or something?
An asshole or something? Oh, you gotta go see Rocky? What a great effing movie right there. Oh, well, David, you got anything else for this one?
I feel like we pretty much covered it.
Yeah, go watch Raw. It's vulgar, but hilarious, man. And Men Are Pigs. It's just kind of just cool to kind of go back and see the comedy of this time and unfiltered.
Yeah.
This is great. Like, Tim Allen's obviously not as like dirty in quotes, but he drops a couple F-bombs, and I think it's just more about, again, it's how the way you convey your stories and how you deliver them, and you hope to God that the audience is accepting of it.
Yeah.
So I was pretty jazzed after watching these. These were really funny. Makes me want to go watch some Andrew Schultz as well, because his crowd work is hilarious. So,
you know who I've been meaning to watch more of, and I always forget to, is oh man, I just forgot his name. The freaking the guy who's very much like Norm Macdonald, Shane Gillis.
Oh, Shane. Oh, Shane's hilarious.
Yeah, I love his monologue on
SNL.
On SNL. Answer the Civil War. Clarabelle, did you ever?
I also like SNL's not super great. Even it's funny. People have this thing of like, man, SNL was only great in the first couple seasons. Like my parents will say, like, I think they owned the first 4 seasons on DVD and then stopped there because they're like, they got just way too dirty. But looking at even season 1, like there's some really vulgar stuff even in the first season. So I don't know what my parents were thinking, but
yeah,
like,
SNL is one of those things where it's like there's good material sprinkled throughout.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely fallen off and become way less funny in recent years.
Yeah.
But I feel like the more recent stuff notwithstanding, and there's even some good stuff in the more recent stuff, just depends on if they get a really funny guest or not.
Yeah, like when they had Ryan Gosling on recently, like there's some great stuff with him. You mentioned Shane Gillis. I was thinking about the sketch of him in the colonial wars, like in the independent wars for America, like Independence War, the War for Independence. And like, they're like, yeah, we got to write this. And he's like, yeah, we could, what about taxes though? Like they're writing the Declaration of Independence. Like Valley Forge or something. And he's like, yeah, but what about this? Then can we take the guns away? And they're like, what? No, we would never do that. Oh, there's some great stuff there. But even stuff like the Ryan Gosling stuff, like when he was the Beavis and Butthead characters on SNL, like you said, most of it's kind of garbage, but there's some good stuff like sprinkled through it, like throughout the years.
I feel like there was definitely a classic era, but I don't know if it was the first season.
I don't know if it was the first season or like Adam Sandler era even.
Yeah, it was the Adam Sandler, Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
That kind of era.
Yeah.
And then Norm Macdonald was really good on SNL as well. Like he actually got fired from SNL because he
the OJ.
Yeah, the whole OJ thing.
I love that. I love how the executive producers of SNL or whoever was head of it, were just don't make jokes. You can make jokes about anything, just not OJ Simpson, because the guy knew him apparently. Who was like part of SNL or was a head producer or something like that.
And then like his whole segment was nothing but OJ jokes.
SNL. Oh, I would encourage, speaking of Norm Macdonald, I would encourage people to go like on social media or on YouTube and just look up clips of Norm Macdonald from like, what's Conan O'Brien's show? Because some of the stuff like he gets away with on there and Conan O'Brien just lets him go is so funny. And Conan O'Brien is the straight man whenever Norm is on, which is just great. But anyway, that's all I got for us, David. I think this might be the shortest episode we've ever done. Let me hold my breath. It might be.
Maybe not the shortest, but definitely up there.
Yeah.
Or down there, depending on how you're ranking them.
Yeah.
Down there.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll end the show there. Thank you for listening, and go seek out and make somebody laugh today. But before you do that, make sure to clickety-clack on your keyboard on your phone or on your computer and look up something that makes you laugh. We'll see you on the next one. And remember to be raw as you snarp fangle on.
Bye-bye now.